Hello friends, you're back here with me, Jenn the Taxidermy Witch, and we are in the last two chapters of this lovely book that we're reading, Hoodoo by Monique Siedlak. Okay, and this book is fantastic. It's very small. If you're just sitting here reading it, you could read it in an hour or two, depending on how much you were highlighting, how many notes you were taking, etc. But from start to finish, it's a quick read. You absorb a lot, and there's a lot of recipes, or for lack of a better word, or spells or workings right in the book. We went through it chapter by chapter. So let's finish one of the bigger chapters, chapter 12. We just got done talking about mojo bags, so if you didn't see all the previous chapters and you want to read this whole book with me, start from the beginning, yeah? Chapter 12, Poppets. A poppet is basically known as a voodoo doll. It can also be called a doll baby. It can also be called a corn dolly, or, you know, corn husk doll, something like that. Poppets, voodoo dolls, right. In voodoo itself, the usage of a poppet magic came to be popular in New Orleans after the end of the Civil War. It is one of the most frequently used instruments in sympathetic magic, in spite of whether you use a cloth doll, a clay doll, or a wooden one. Remember that poppets have a long belief following them. It is random that is inspired. It is tradition that is inspired by the magical ways of many cultures. So, if you find yourself pulled to a particular culture's deities, honor them, indulge in your poppets, and they reciprocate. You make a poppet for and of a person, okay? Whether you want to do that poppet whatever you do to that poppet will affect the person it represents. Poppets are especially useful for spells that heal, attract or keep a lover, or banish. They can be used whenever you need to have an effect on a specific person. Okay? More often than not, a poppet is made out of cloth, but it can also be made out of clay, wood, wax, or other materials. Let's talk about the other materials that I want to bring up to you, because that's going to be a really big part of this video. Let's get into my herbal cabinet a bit, shall we? Well, I've brought it over here to you. In bed, because that was another thing where this whole series is reading a book in bed. We started it late at night last night, read most of the book through the dark, and now it is the morning here in Seattle, and we're finishing this book. It is bloody fantastic. So I save things that are like woods and branches, and you could use wooden branches as the bones of your poppet. You could also use this dill that I've dried. As you can see, these are really hard on the tripod here, and they're about the size of your forearm. So if you wanted that to be the body, and then watch my video on dill and witchcraft, okay? I did a 33-minute video on all the properties of dill. There are so many. I did it outside in the lovely late spring of 2018. Oh, it was gorgeous. Out in our beautiful, lovely garden here at the Seattle house. I say the Seattle house because we're moving to Texas soon. So, you could use dill. And that's dill that we grew here. It's so cool. You could use these are rose stems, okay? And rose stems would be great for everything that roses are great for in witchcraft, okay? I do believe that I did a video on rose and witchcraft. If not, I sure should. But love, lust, attraction, the obvious things, plus there are more. Fertility, right? Because love and fertility should go hand in hand, I would think. But maybe not for everybody. These are, I believe, willow twigs, whatever the willow properties are. I believe I did a video on willow. You could put these in as the bones. And now when I say bones, it doesn't even have to be, like, okay, you don't even have to put cloth around this. You could literally make one out of, like, you know, sticks, and then two legs, and then put a rosebud at the top to represent the head. and that could be your poppet, you know, and you could put things around it. Or you could cover the whole thing in cloth. Like when you cut out a cloth, it looks like a shape of a gingerbread cookie. Cut that out in cloth, as big as you want the poppet to be, and then inside stuff it with these bones. In this one, it has the root of the dill. Put that in the foot if you need help with grounding. Do you see how you can get all of these energies to tie in? Now, this is me just bringing my herbalism advice into this. This is not coming from Monique Joyner's book, okay? It is coming from me putting my info into the reading, all right? And so these are the lovely rose stems, willow, or you could use literal bones. These are turkey bones I saved from a carcass, and I did a video on how to, what did I call it? How to dismember a turkey and save the bones for bone throwing in hoodoo. Well, these are all the big bones that I kept, and they're all dried, and they're all cured, and they're seasoned in eucalyptus oil. They're ready for a divination or a poppet, okay? So let's just see some of these. That's probably too big to really be anything, but you see, you could put this in as either a leg, or as the main body, or as an arm, or the cross of the arms, whatever you need. Like you could do a rose stem for the body, and a bone for the cross of the arms, and then some dill coming out for the legs, yeah? Like that, and then a rosebud at the head or something. Who knows? Make it what you want. You could do the whole thing out of one item. But if you were trying to do poppets to make someone love each other more, for instance, these are saved from our wedding. So we were going to do some awesome keep the love poppets so it stays strong always and it never tapers. And you could do that all out of love things. Dill was one of the things that had to do with love. Another one that had to do with love and sweetening and all that, sugar cane. And this just reminded me so much of a poppet because it's really like hard once it's dried. It is also sharp, right? So you could use those kind of magical intentions in it. Love is sharp. Love is painful. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? So all these bits of sugar cane. I don't have a glass big enough to put them in. You guys know I don't use plastic in much, but I have not been spending any money. I've not gotten any more new glass jars, and I'm trying to like raid my cupboards to see what's low and like eat the rest of the sauerkraut so I could have a jar. But in the meantime, you know, there's always going to be some plastic somewhere, and I have to accept that that's okay. Alright, so I want to talk about something else. Oh, no, two other things. Bamboo. Bamboo is really great. Did a video on that. Sugarcane and witchcraft. Did a video on that, of course. A few videos and how to actually cut it and pull it apart and use the inside because that becomes like a fluffing for the poppet. Where is that inside material? I think it's actually in Lily's room in the other part of the studio. But when you chew up the inside of the sugarcane, the part that you eat, it becomes this like fluffy cotton. Why couldn't you use that fluffy cotton as the herbal to stuff your poppet with? So, oh, this stuff literally gets me so excited, you guys. I try to explain it to you, and I hope that it doesn't ever sound fake because it's so not. I'm this excited about it. Here's another thing. I sell all of these things on my and on my Etsy channel. Thank you, Witches and Pagans Amino, for helping me display my Etsy page because it's really hard to get it out there. I don't have a Facebook in that. So, Pagans and Witches Amino, you guys rock. The vendor's corner there, check out everybody's art. My cat earrings I got from Art by Wolves, who vends there on Pagans and Witches. My coyote moonstone necklace with coyote ribs I got from the same vendor, Art by Wolves. She goes by La Phoenix, I believe. And then, who else sells there? Oh, of course, my girl, Black Moon Coven. Alright, all one word. And she does all kinds of things, herbals as well. But on mine, I'm doing like, you can get any herb from my cabinet. Anything that I've dried, I can send to you. The things I've grown here, it's just really cool. And I know that a lot of you want to get your hands on them. So I've done like a 55-piece herbal kit for, I don't know, $55 or something. Or 50 piece for $55. And you can choose anything you want. Or you can get one of each of everything I have, and I would charge 50 cents for, you know, just a little bit of each thing so you can play with it, you know. I'm excited. Sorry I had to promote myself there a little bit because I need this to be my main income. I have to make an income too. And I'm sitting here all day long doing videos for you guys. I have a Patreon. I'll connect that below. Alright, so back to things that you can use to make poppets. Thank you for letting me talk about that. You could use the sugar cane for just the whole bulk of the middle of the poppet. Again, you could maybe make like some bone arms coming out from it or something, or 2 bone arms coming out from it. Another great thing, if you can melt beeswax, this would be the best type of wax to use. Natural, beautiful beeswax. This was a gift from a viewer and a family member here at the Taxidermy Witch. Thank you. And the other thing that you can use, and what I've been using since the start of time, since I saw Lady Grave Dancer, who's my mother of witchcraft. I look up to her so much. I hope I get to meet her one day. Tequila. Check out her YouTube channel if you've never seen it. Most of you who watch my channel have seen it, though. So anyway, since I saw her talk about poppets, I realized Scott Cunningham also calls them poppets. That connected because he's my father of witchcraft, the guy I take all my herbal advice from, almost all, and mostly intuition as well, and from some other books. But he mentioned wax, like beeswax, and I thought, what better way, because I'm all about recycling something that was going to be thrown away, what better way to make a poppet than a paraffin hand dipper? You dip your hand in, and if it's a poppet, especially if it's for you, or working for somebody that's positive who's close to you, you're putting your tag lock onto the poppet, right? We talked about tag locks in Hoodoo, and that's like a piece of the person's hair, or nails, or a napkin they used, or a picture of them, or whatever. Why wouldn't their hand be dipping into here? So if you were doing a poppet working for somebody, dip their very hand into here. It's attached with a tag lock right on it. Then their hand gets a warm paraffin dip. It feels so lovely. They're relaxing. When their hand is in there, okay, this is a client that you're doing a positive working with and for. When their hand is in there, you tell them to envision everything that they want and need out of this poppet, out of this working, out of their issue, or out of what they want to improve, heighten, etc., draw into their life. Their hand is in this lovely machine that's just a wax warmer. Right now it's cool so that I could show it to y'all, but you click on the light and it just stays on. It stays plugged in, and it's not a fire hazard. It's never ever ever been a fire hazard for me, and I have animals. So when their hand is in there, they're envisioning that. You can pick these up, sorry, for maybe like 15 bucks brand new. Look for them though at thrift shops, garage sales, whatever. And then you can get big old blocks of wax. This one is purple, which is cool. You could add the purple into color magic. And I have a video on purple and color magic. Then you take this wax, you put it in there, you melt it. You can also use all the qualities of the lavender essential oil that's in there. The qualities of the lavender flower, medicinal, what the lavender would mean. You can mix magical and medicinal. Why not? We know that they both work, homeopathics and magic, yes? So, this is a much easier poppet to form, especially, and keep forming and manipulating and adding things into and squishing them into, than this. Once this hardens, it goes back to a block. When this hardens and is in a smaller area, it's totally pliable and movable still. Not as much as when it's warm, but way more than this would be. That's why I like it, because then you can keep stuffing new herbs. Like, if now they're having a lung issue, now you can just poke a hole into the poppet, stuff some lungwort in there, and then cover it back up. If they're having a heart issue, you can take herbs that are good for the heart, and, you know, help their heart. Headaches, stuff peppermint in there because it's good medicinally, but then also get the ones that are magically good for it, okay? Anoint the poppet with peppermint oil right here and right here, because that's what you would do with a person who had a headache. If my friend Tess is over in California and she does not have peppermint oil on her, and I'm always trying to give her advice, and she donates so much to this channel and to me, I'm so happy, thank you. If she doesn't have what she needs there in her house, I go, don't worry, girl. I've got a poppet here for you. I'll anoint it with what you need here, and I can have poppets here for as many people as I need. I usually have about 3 for clients locally that I work with. I'd love to get some of you on Skype and online that we can do this with. So, breaths, Jennifer. Poppets. You can have your witch do it for you, or your hoodoo worker do it for you, or you can do them and keep them yourself. You can have your witch or worker make them and start them for you and give you instructions, just like you would with a prescription. Do this to it, da, 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 da. Add this if you need this, right? So there are many ways that I'm able to help you guys if you need help with the working, but that you can just do it on your own as well. I love to teach it to you on how to do it on your own, and also switch it up, you know, from what I'm doing, and add something that's your own, yeah? Maybe add a real piece of jewelry to it because that person is so fancy and loves jewelry. They have a broken necklace, make a little tiny poppet necklace out of it. My mom has a broken bracelet that she gave me. I'm going to take part of the broken bracelet and put it on the wrist of her poppet because that's where she had this little bracelet. So I'm really excited, you know, to share that stuff with you. Those stories and these suggestions made this video quite a bit longer than our others, and we still have some reading to do. So let's get to that. And I hope that, you know, you enjoyed looking at these things and thinking about what else you could do with poppets besides just creating a doll out of, you know, sewing with the thread and the fabric, which is also awesome. Cut it into the gingerbread. But why not stuff it with these bones, right? How more taxidermy can you get, yeah? Ah! I love our ideas that we come up with together. Okay. So where I left off was I was saying that more often than not a poppet is made out of cloth, but it can also be made out of clay, wood, wax, or other materials. Carving a wood one would be really cool. There are no strict rules when it comes to fabric. You can choose, however, your fabric centered on your intention. For instance, someone that is doing a money poppet might select a piece of green or gold cloth, black for uncrossing. If it's love you're looking for, try something with hearts on it. But if all else fails, a plain bit of muslin or felt is always great for the ideal project. As for the texture of the fabric, you can choose anything. Although cotton is simple enough to work with, but if you're... We're in bed, right? Hoodoo in bed. Easy enough to work with, but if you're an unskilled seamstress, you may want to stick with something firmer at first, such as felt, which is available. This fleece that I use from my Mojo bags, that would work great for the outside of a poppet, in my opinion. And Hoodoo, they use a lot of red felt. Here it's saying like muslin, so just like basic cloth. On Project Runway, what they are only allowed to use other than what they get at Mood. That's muslin, right? Just a basic white cloth sack. So if you have that, you can use that for your poppets. As for the texture of the fabric, you can choose anything, although cotton is simple to work with. You're an unskilled seamstress. Hey, we said that. It can be filled with herbs consistent with the purpose of the spell, and few personal items that connect with the subject or spell to the doll. Okay, little curios and stuff. And try and put them in the area of either the chakra, what chakra it would resonate with, or the organ it would resonate with, okay? Sad we can't have music in our videos anymore. Now I have to sing to you, which ain't good. Oh lordy. It can be herbs, yes, stuffings. Okay, so if you didn't feel like utilizing all of the herbs, you might add stuffing such as cotton balls, which, yes, that would be pretty hoodoo. There were growing cotton in South in the times of early hoodoo and conjure. Yeah, rootwork. And like I say, when you chew up the sugar cane, the inside is very cottony or like fillingy. It's like a stuffing. And it's something you literally would have spit out into the garbage, but now it's got your tag lock, your personal tag lock on it, and that is amazing. It's like a witch chewed up the filling for this for me with love and focus for a poppet. How much cooler could this get, you know? In my opinion. Or have them chew it up. Share some sugar cane. Share some sugar cane with them, and just have them, you know, spit it into a cup, and then, you know, just grab that cup and tell them we're going to use this for your poppet filling. I get tongue-tied sometimes, girls and boys. Alright, once you have your poppet, you will need to tie the doll to the person you want to be represented by it. This is entirely up to you to decide how much feature is involved in the spell. It can last for a week, a day, or an hour. You can either use a gingerbread man template, that's kind of what I said, right? Or create your own outline to represent a person. You could make the arms pointy and it would look more like a kind of human, like Blair Witch stick figure type thing if you made the arms pointy rather than rounded. You could still do the round head, but maybe make it more of a real head shape, like an oval, and then the stick figure arms coming to a point and the legs coming to points at the feet instead of having feet, you know, like a gingerbread man would. That way it will look more witchy and less character-y. And if you want to know how to sew a poppet, we'll do a video on it, but you could just mimic how I sew by hand my mojo bags. In the last video I attached that video. After all, I did attach the mojo bag video. Gotcha. The mojo bag DIY taxidermy witch. Okay, y'all, let's get back onto the book, because am I gonna be able to get this done? We gotta focus and read. Once you have your poppet, you'll need to tie the doll to the person. We said all that. You can either use a gingerbread man template. If you're doing a spell for an animal, make the poppet shape correspond. Your poppet doesn't have to be large. And if the person's in a wheelchair, maybe make their poppet with the wheelchair. Like whatever is attached to them. Not necessarily like a cane or whatever, but literally if they like, and also if they are an amputee, make it literally look like them. So an amputee would have a stump somewhere. Do it like that, alright? If you were conjoined twins, you just sew the dolls together, hun. Just make it as literal as possible. So, your poppet doesn't have to be large. I like them large, though, because it's different. But it will have to be big enough that it can be stuffed with all of the ingredients afterwards. Poppet building can also be done as portion of the spell work itself, or it can be completed in advance, leaving you the poppet to be used later on. It's up to you. Just remember, the poppet is representative of a person. For that reason, before you begin construction, you need to decide what kind of spell you are doing. Do you want a protection poppet to keep in your home or in your car? Is there a friend who needs some magical assistance to get a job? Or do you want to stop someone who is spreading gossip? Is there someone you want out of your life? The abilities are limitless. Deciding on your goal before you start is a good idea. I'll tell you this little fact about me. I've never done a poppet for a dark working. I've only done them for positive workings. I have done dark workings and, you know, put someone's face in the toilet because they deserve it and all that, and more, you know, because we do hexing magic and hexing sand and all of this. But I have never done a poppet with pins to hurt anybody, like people may imagine what a voodoo doll is. The only thing you do with that is you take it and you kill someone with it. Okay, though that's not true. You can stuff it with the corresponding herbs, just even medicinally, even if you're not a person with magic. Even if you're just doing focus meditation for that person, you could take all the witchcraft out of it and just call it focus meditation. Seriously. Drawing things to you, manifesting things, making a physical thing to look at it to help you, that absolutely, truly will help. I promise it, and I know it deep inside of me. So, And it's worked for me so many times in life to get through to people who's just like, I can't do witchcraft. Be like, okay, well, let's do this. And they're like, I like that. I like looking at it that way. And you just have to, like, find a way to get to them to where they just understand what this is, that it's not all ill will. And most of it is positive, helping, loving. Alright, so you might want to pin the two pieces of material together, although if you're using something such as felt, it may just stick together on its own and then so. I use those stick pins to help me, just like I thread them through, the ones with the head on them. Turn the figure inside out so the okay, I've done a DIY on how, I'll do a DIY on how to do this. I'm not going to read it. But she does say after you fill the ingredients inside where they need to be, right? In corresponding with the areas. And I say either chakras or organs. Finish stuffing the body and the head. Using an overcast stitch, I don't know what that is, so the head shut. I just use, I'll do a video, y'all, a DIY. You have by now placed the tag lock and other ingredients inside your poppet, but the more personalized you can make it, the better. Like I was saying, all those tag lock ideas, see, that's how I personalize it and make it all the more better for myself, you know. Draw up or paint a face on your poppet, or you could stitch it in beforehand or right now. You could use buttons for eyes, and you could add them before you begin. It might be easier before you sew the two halves together. Add yarn to represent hair if you like, or you can make dreads out of like real human hair that people buy for extensions. You could save, like sometimes if you have dreads, little pieces will fall off just because they do. You could save that. And also you could clean out somebody's brush. You can, you know, take their tissue that they blew their nose with. Yeah, it sounds gross, but just keep little jars or paper bags on you and then go hang out with this person that you need to make a poppet with. If this is for negative working or something and you're like, how am I going to get this person who doesn't even like me? Well, just be around them, like if it's a coworker, a family member, or a family friend, and then just when you're with them, watch them and find a way to get a personal tag of theirs. It's not hard, alright? It's not hard. You could even go in the bathroom if the soap was wet and wipe it with a clean piece of toilet paper because they just touched and washed their hands with that soap. There's another way to get one, okay? Alright. Add yarn to represent the hair if you like, because that's a great way. Embroidery thread, what else could you use? Feathers, maybe? Especially if you needed to heighten with spirituality, connect with the spirit. If you have an item of the person's clothing, wrap your poppet in it. Great idea. Use the fabric from one of their old shirts to actually make the dress, clothing of their poppet. Put as much detail as you can. Clothing. The more time you put into this, the more it will help and affect that very person, and that's a promise as well. If you copy any identifying marks like tattoos or scars, put them on the poppet's body as well. So you don't have to do all of them. Like if you're putting a long sleeve dress on, you just do the tattoos on the person that actually came out. So the one on my hand, and how if it was an open back dress on the poppet, the ones on your back, whatever you could see mirrored to that person, right? And if it's for you or someone you know or a client, just ask them, do you have any tattoos? If so, let me see which ones would stick out of this dress I'm designing for you. And you could draw it all out for them like Project Runway, and that's what I do for people too, is like, here's what we are going to think about making it out of, here's the bones, here's the fabric, can you send me a shirt in the mail so I can make it out of that? No biggie, it costs $1 or $2 to send in a little envelope. Great, get it here, I make the poppet. Love it. Okay, let's talk about when you have finished the, okay, one thing most people forget is that you'll need to tell the poppet itself who it is to represent. So after you've made it, you say, hello poppet, thank you for being with me, helping me and Susan in our workings, and you're to represent Susan here. And you were made of the wax that she put her hands into, and you are to represent exactly what she envisioned when she put her hands into the wax, okay? Tell your poppet this, okay? Another way you could make a poppet? Why not? Cleanse a stuffed animal. Take all the stuffing out and try and make it your own, right? Make this the back of the head and then sew on a whole new face on this side. You know what I'm saying? Or just sew on a new face over this. Whatever you need to do. You could do that too. You could just repurpose an old doll. Especially if it was one your child played with. That's a whole personal tag of your child's. One of their old dolls. Yes. Yes, girl. Yes. Girls and boys, brothers and sisters. Okay, so we're going to have to come back to talk more about poppets from this book, because we're going to be talking about blessing the poppet, disposing of the poppet, poppets for love, poppets to gain employment, protection, healing, and then the last chapter, 13, is all about oils. Sorry this one took so long, but I really did need to add in all of those personal touches to not break into Monique's book, but just to tell you that there are so many things I can do to help you. If you're like, I wish I had all these things that you have, Jen. You have so much at your fingertips. I hear that so often. And that is why I've created my Etsy, so I can share anything and everything with y'all. From my giant selection of herbs. That's just one of my cabinets. There's just so many things I've got all over my room, all over my house. I take them out in the full moon and I bless them. I talk to them. A lot of them I've grown or foraged. Very few of them I've purchased. Some of them were gifts, those ones I keep obviously, but the things that I make are so precious to me, and it warms my heart to share. I also have chicken's feet for sale on my Etsy page. Loads and loads of things. Chicken toes for spells to stick into candles and burn down. Great for banishing. So, come back with me, Jenn the Taxidermy Witch, while we talk hoodoo in bed from Monique Joyner Siedlak's book. See you soon, talking more about poppets. Bye, guys.